Hey there everyone, this video is going to be a tier list to tell you which welfare units to prioritize when trying to unlock events to clear in Arknights. The reason for this is that within Arknights itself, it's very easy for you to obtain extra operators that can help you. So there are a total of 47 operators that we're going to be putting into the list over here. Now, to briefly explain how you can get these operators, you can simply do so by going into the score itself and then clicking on the event. Click on one of the events that you've never cleared, use this token which refreshes one every week to unlock that event. You do not have to clear every single stage in order to do so. Instead, you can just clear the first 4 or 5 stages and you can immediately obtain the first copy of the operator. Now, if your priority is not to get free units to help your account and instead to get original prime to get pools or skins, that will be for another video. So this video is just telling you which events are the best to unlock just to get the first few stages done, get the operator, and then come back next time in order to clear the EX stages and the S stages. Get the idea? Okay, so let's look at the lists of the welfare units over here. So the way I'm going to rank this is by first priority, second priority, third priority, and fourth priority. Meaning this is just how much I rank them in terms of how much you probably want to own them in the account. Alright, so we're going to start off with Granny. So Granny came from the very first event in AK. I'm going to say that you don't need to own a Granny. She is a pretty decent Vanguard, but yeah, I don't think you'll use her all too much. Because you can use Vigna, you can use other strikers as well. So she'll just sit over there. Flamebringer shall go into the same category. You don't really need him in your account. Ceylon as well. Bison, well, you will get a lot of good defenders when you first start the game, right? You'll have Bubble, you have Quora to support you, and you'll probably get some other 5 stars as well when you are actually doing your pools. So I would say that Bison isn't that necessary. Same for Snow Sand, you already have Cliffheart at the very start of the game, so don't need to obtain them. And then Obscene. Now, Obscene, I would say it depends. Because even though we do have quite a decent number of casters in this game, if you just so happen that when you first started the game, you don't really have a good caster to support you, you can basically buy the Record Restore tokens in order to unlock the event itself, and then that way you can get yourself into Obscene. I'm gonna say, if you need that sort of support, you can own an Obscene. She does deal decent single target damage. Now, Folenic, not that necessary. Sedaroka, not necessary at all. Wow, if there was a 5th tier, I had to say Tomimi. No new player needs Tomimi. Okay, Tomimi is a flavored pick. If you want to try it out, go ahead. But yeah, you really don't need a Tomimi. If you don't know why, look up a kit. It's basically turning arts damage into physical damage and it's very hard to control. Mint is not too needed as well. I would say, yes, there's the suction cool mechanic that she is able to do, but not a must. Slash is also not that important to help people's account. Now, Robin. Robin's a pretty good one. So, you might not get a lot of trap masters when you first start out the game, whether it's in the form of Dorothy or... Actually, we do have a lot of limited trap masters with the likes of Frost and Ella from the Rainbow Six Siege event. So, as a result, since there isn't too many other people, well, you're gonna get Wang soon. Even so, I'm gonna say that Robin goes into the second priority, because trap masters can help to negate certain event mechanics. For example, Wolomonde, we can charge the towers. If you do need to use her for utility wise, it's also going to be pretty good. So let's have her there. Lava the Purgatory, not too needed. Heavy Rain is actually pretty interesting because she's able to provide the camouflage for your units, and the healing I would say is okay, pretty acceptable. I'm gonna give Heavy Rain a little bit of an advantage over Bison as a defender, and I'm gonna say that she's in 3rd because she has a mechanic that I don't see in all too much of other operators. Then for Gladia, you would have heard this, okay? Most people will tell our newbies that, hey, Gladia must get, okay? You gotta pick out on that Gladia, make sure. So there you go. Gladia must enter your account, alright? Then, Benna. I would say that Doorkeepers are pretty interesting for people to use because Doorkeepers have the ability where once you've killed them once, they still can stay within the stage. They don't need too much healing unless there's a ranged enemy attacking them, and they can get redeployed. I think it's pretty fun to learn how Benna works, so I'm gonna say that she's in 3rd. Tequila, I would say, is pretty freaking good. He's like a mini Moina within this game, albeit he doesn't have as high of a damage and doesn't hit as many targets, but I do think he can support your account if you understand how to use him. Just place a defender behind him, let him be the front line, Once his skill is ready, use it, watch that big damage go. Pretty good. Also pretty good if you're using him in base because he gives you a lot of LMD. So I'm putting Tequila there. I think that Wild Main is pretty helpful in quite a bit of people's accounts, I would say. The reason for that is that she has the high ASPD. She doesn't have big damage, but high ASPD operators doesn't come all too much. So therefore, I'm gonna say that it's okay to use her or try to get her over Granny. She's gonna go in third place for me. Now, Yera is someone that maybe early game you might consider because she's able to cast Cold and it might turn into Freeze in a sense. And Freeze utility is pretty helpful within this game. Any sort of utility from operators are all great. Like the people on the bottom lane over there, they don't really have much interesting kind of stall, whether it's in the form of stun, bind. Of course, you have Min that is able to kind of pull the units in, but not all too amazing. Yera, I would say, pretty okay. So I'm gonna put her in third. Cruise Outer is very influential to people's accounts, okay? So if you want a good sniper, you feel like you don't have a good firepower, you're done with the 3 stars and 4 stars. I mean, even if you have 6 stars, you would still consider Cruise Outer because Cruise Outer is formidable, right? She's very good at applying stun, whether without skill or on skill. Amazing. Go get her. Enforcer isn't too necessary because you don't really need another pusher when you already have Shaw or Feeder in your account. Lumen is very good as a medic. So if you want to have someone that is trusty healing, ammo-based skill, which means that he's almost gonna have infinite skill unless you have to use it to cleanse the stun or certain negative ailment. Otherwise, very, very good medic for you to be using. The range is also pretty sweet, although it's less healing on the outside, but still very good. Cherney is someone that I would say does dish quite a good amount of damage as an arts defender. So the idea of an arts defender is that they don't have as high of a defense as your regular defenders, but they are there for the damage dealing purpose. I do quite enjoy using him. I'm gonna say it's okay for you to get Cherney, but I'm not gonna put him on the second. I'm just gonna put him on the third. Minimalist damage as a drone caster doesn't quite compare to his other counterparts. I would say that Yera has that Cold and Freeze, which is pretty good, and then you have to look at Lapland Outer and also Golden Glow. That is the big lords over there. So I don't think his damage is that big, you know, and the utility, I mean, there's no utility, he's a pure damage person. I would still put fourth that I guess it's in the same boat as Epsilon. If you do need some caster and you want the caster where the damage that they deal is fast, although it might not be very big, maybe you can consider a minimalist, okay? I'm just gonna put him on that third priority. Right over there. Now for Esjean is a chain caster, which has the ability for you to slow the enemies whensoever that they get hit, and then she's also able to hit much harder on the skill use. I'm gonna say she's alright for you to get. I'll put her in the third place. Now Vigil might be labeled as one of the worst 6 stars in this game, but if you are a new player, you don't have a lot of other 6 stars, and you feel like you have the resources and you want to use him, you could consider to use him. It's not like you're gonna get Musis that early in the game because she's a limited unit as a tactician. There are other very good tacticians as well, with the likes of Black Knight, with the likes of Beanstalk is even usable. But even then, Vigil does have pretty okay damage in the early part of the game. So I'm not gonna say that he goes into the 4th. I'm still gonna put him on that 3rd round, alright? Puzzle is an agent, which means that they can gain DP when they are on skill use and whenever they hit the enemy. It's pretty good to use, and it's also a pseudo fast redeploy, not as fast as your Gravel and Project Red. But the good thing is that they are still able to kind of go around the map and give you DP all sorts of places. So I'm gonna say that for Puzzle, I think he is pretty decent for you to get. I want to put him in the 2nd tier. You do have Snegroshka, which is the recently added 4-star, but I don't think Snegroshka is very good to use as an agent. I do find her kit very problematic, and Puzzle is at least pretty comfortable. So I'm gonna say that he goes right over there. Alright, then Jieyun. Jieyun is an AoE sniper, quite like Catapult, quite like Shiryuki. AoE snipers aren't very popular of a branch being used in this game. And I don't just mean that for like casual content, I do mean that for like a lot of different content. So I don't find Tianyuan all too effective. Her skill does take quite a while to charge as well. I do feel a little bit bad, but I think she goes into the 4th place. Silence the Abjurer is... Sorry, silence the paradigmatic. Silence the Okay, I'm struggling. I'm a failure at this. Whatever her name is, Silence Alter. Pretty okay. You can use her like a healer for an Abjurer's sake. And you can also use her to keep a singular person alive. That's the unique part of using her skill tree. I would say that it's pretty okay to use as a sort of counter strong medic if you don't have like other strong medics within your account. Not all too much important for you to get or build, to be honest. But I guess if you don't have anybody that you feel is helping with your healing side of things and you are panicking, you can consider to grab her. I'm gonna say that she goes into the 3rd place. Alright, not so much in the 2nd, I'm gonna put her on the 3rd. Insider is a pretty good ammo-based sniper. Very good to pair with all your ammo-based teams in Laterano, but even with him alone, also pretty okay at dealing with the drones and whatnot. I'm gonna say that Insider shall go into the 3rd place. Bryophyta isn't very necessary. Bryophyta is like they are the instructors. You can sort of live without them, so I'm gonna put him right over here. But if you are a base fanatic, you like very, very good operators for the base, maybe you can have him, but you need to E2 him. I'm still gonna put him 4th. Cold Shot as a hunter has pretty freaking good damage, I would say. And as a result, I do genuinely think that if you want a person who's very good at single target physical damage, I would say you should get yourself a Cold Shot. I'm gonna put her in the 2nd place. Of course, when you start getting very much stronger operators, or if you get her 6-star counterpart that is Ray, you might not end up using Cold Shot anymore, but on her own, I think she's still pretty fine. So I'm gonna put her into the 2nd. Or should I put her into the 3rd? You know what? Nah, I'll put her into the 3rd. I think she's pretty good, but maybe not that good. So I'll keep her on the 3rd. Okay, Lessing. Now, Lessing is also another 6-star that is rated as one of the worst 6-stars within this game, but it's just because he has too much powerful 6-star buddies that is out there swimming in the heavens of power. Poor Lessing. But if you are just a new player, you're thinking, what operator can be very good to help me in my account? I honestly think that in the sea of welfare units, Lessing is pretty good for you to own because you can still use him like someone that you deploy within a lane, activate his skill, do some big damage. I think it's okay for you to use him, and hey, he doesn't actually get easily stunned if you have his other skill that is turned on. So I'm gonna put 4th that it's okay for you to get Lessing. I do find Lessing a little bit more usable than Vigil and Silence. No, he goes into the 3rd. Lessing is right over here. He couldn't go into the 2nd place. He's still in the 3rd priority. Alright, Herald. Well, if you do need a Wandering Medic and you don't intend to get Honeyberry or Mulberry, whether from the voucher store or not, and you want to get someone via the event, I would say Herald is a pretty okay choice for you to get so that you can cleanse things like the sanity damage, burn damage, all kinds of elemental stuff that your enemies are dealing to you. So I'm gonna put him on the 3rd place. Wan Qing. Okay, Wan Qing is a little bit interesting because most people will be able to get Myrtle pretty early at the start, whether it's from paying the $1 pack or just doing your pools and casually a Myrtle appear. And if you have heard or not heard from this game, flag bearers are just really good at generating DP, right? You don't just have one flag bearer, you can have multiple and then you pair it with a bagpipe. If you don't have bagpipe, it's still fine, you still run flag bearers. And the other person who is a 5-star flag bearer is Elysium, which you might not get very early in the game. So because of that, if you just want to have another DP generator sitting within your account, I would say that it's pretty okay for you to get a Wan Qing. Like, Wan Qing does go into the 2nd place, simply if you need that sort of support within your team. And this is even more so if you do not own a Myrtle and Elysium for whatever reason in your first month of gameplay. If that's the case, yeah, go and grab him. Now, for Oda, I'm gonna say that you don't really need to use Earthshakers all too much within the game. Yes, they're pretty cool, they can spread the damage out in a little bit of an AoE fashion, but honestly speaking, you will probably have a lot more firepower elsewhere, so I don't think you need to get yourself an Oda. Underflow is kind of in the same sort of category as Cherney, where they are both very, very good Arts Defenders. Very fun to use them to see the amount of damage they deal. So I'm gonna say it's okay. for you to get yourself an underflow. Now for Papyrus, which is a chain medic, I do think that Papyrus is okay for you to get because chain medics allow you to heal people even outside of the range, right? If she heals someone and then there's other people who is in close distance, they also get a portion of the healing. It can be an interesting strategy for you to use in certain stages, maybe even in the early game. But I would still say it's not a big must for you to get someone like Papyrus. If you like her, if you think she's cute, yeah, I'll say she's pretty worthwhile. She's not going to go down to the 4th place. I'm going to say that she's in the 3rd priority. Catherine is not needed. Unfortunately for Granny over here, all she does is give you a shield, gives you some defense, and there's a lot of other means for you to do that, so you don't need to own yourself a Catherine. Now, Crown Slayer is a little bit of a debate, because for Crown Slayer, a lot of people will say that she's really good if you get her module. But when you're a new player, I do not expect new players to be obtaining a module right away on their hand. So that's kind of the reason that I don't think that she's very good for people to grab early on. However, if you do get Crown Slayer early, and you don't have a good fast to deploy like Phantom, Project Red, and even more so you don't have Texas Alter or Kirin Yato, right? I would say that you can still use Crown Slayer for her first skill in order to dish out a big amount of attack and, you know, be redeployed in whatsoever places. That way, you can at least still have that fast redeploy mechanic going on while still using her maybe beside Gravel in a certain stage. So, I don't think she's all too bad, and even more so that later on, once you're able to feed her with the module and pair it with things like her skill tree, it's going to be pretty effective for you to use. I'm going to say that Crown Slayer does go into the 2nd place. If this was me speaking like years ago, or most people, they'll tell you that she goes in 4th. Some people might even argue now that she goes in 3rd, but no, I'm gonna say that she's in the 2nd priority. I think she's pretty okay for people to get. Okay, next up, we have Rose Salt. Now, when it comes to the healing power, as we've mentioned, you know, Lumen is pretty darn good. You have some of the other medics as well, like Harold providing you elemental healing, Papyrus with the chain, but Rose Salt as just a vanilla AoE medic, you know, multi-target rather, with 3 people that she can heal at once, and the fact that she can reduce the damage taken, honestly, is really good for a medic to provide. It's another form of Sanctuary. It doesn't say Sanctuary, it just says reduce damage taken, and that can help to keep a lot of your units alive. To me, Rose Salt is one of the best medics in this game, and as a result, I have to say that she must go into 1st place for that reason. So there she goes. And then we move on to... What is your name? Paichu. Huh? Now for Paichu, I don't think you really much require her. She is an Abjurer, which means that when skill is activated, she does heal. But compared to all of the other people up there that is providing healing, and even though she provides Sanctuary, nah, you don't really need yourself a Paichu. Bridget is a very, very cute character, I would say. And Bridget is in the same category as Narantia and Caper, which can be pretty fun for you to use, especially for the fact that if there are enemies around their square range, they do attack much faster. I would say that it's a pretty decent damage, but I'm just gonna go for it. Wait, was her name not Paichu? I've completely scrambled. Her name was Xingqiu. I'm sorry, newbie players who I gave you a jump scare because you came from the other game. Her name is Xingqiu. I'm referring to her right over there. Okay, anyways, Bridget's archetype is pretty powerful in itself, and therefore I don't think it needs to go into the 4th place. The range is really nice to use. I'm gonna say that she does go into the 3rd for priority-wise. Sancta Mix Separato is a pretty strong defender, both at holding the lane and dealing an okay amount of damage. I do think that once he's able for you to obtain, whether from Record Restore or an Event Rerun, it's pretty okay for you to build him, whether on his skill 2 or skill 3. And if you're using an ammo-based team, again, quite like Insider, where if you have your Laterano team being in play, Sancta is definitely going to support that quite a bit. So I'm going to say he goes into the 2nd priority for this one. Miss Christine is the good friend of Tragodia or Phantom. I don't think you really need to use Miss Christine. Yes, there's the whole paralysis thing that goes on, but yeah, I don't think it's all that necessary. Matsukiri is a pretty good Vanguard for you to use because of the fact that she's able to lower the DP cost of the later units that are being deployed. People will say, hey, but Silver Ash Alter does that. But what if you just join the game and you don't have Silver Ash Alter, and it's not going to be easy for you to get him since it's 300 pools. So I'm going to put forth that I'm going to put forth that Matsukiri can go into the 2nd place. I don't think he needs to be someone that you over-prioritize to get first, but he's going to be a pretty good next option for you to get in certain point in time. And I'm just going to put one more person over here, which I can't pull up because this tier list doesn't have it, which is SG Nauta. So SG Nauta, I'm going to put her within the... Ooh, SG Nauta is a tricky one. Do I put her in second or third? I'm going to put her in the third category. They're quite like Vigil and Lessing in a sense that she does have pretty good damage, but when compared to the sea of very powerful 6 stars, it's almost as if you don't really need to use an SG Nauta. It's still good to have that sort of Dazzle Binder thing going on where she can slow down the enemies, but there are a lot of other people who have better slowing powers as well. So if I had to put SG Nauta's profile, I will place her right over here. Okay, so this is my tier list. I am blocking the units as you can see, and yeah, there you go. First priority to fourth priority. So I need to just remind you guys again as to how you can get these operators. You don't need to do a lot in order to grab them, alright? Go to any sort of event. If they have the record restore already available, simply use your token to unlock the event, and then you just have to clear the front few stages. Grab them and be done with it, alright? You don't need to clear all the other stuff because they are for potentials. Potentials aren't that important in this game. Just one copy will do, you can get them later on. If your focus is to get Original Prime in order to get pools or skins, I will link you to the other video where we shall rank the events and see which ones you can clear more easily for that purpose. See you guys in that one. Bye bye.